The first warning came as a quiet distortion in the deep field scanners, a ripple that did not belong to any known star pattern or natural phenomenon. It moved with intent, cutting through the darkness between systems like a blade through water. At the edge of human space, a listening station registered the anomaly and transmitted a coded alert back toward the core worlds. By the time the signal reached command, the ripple had multiplied into thousands of signatures. The alien fleet had arrived. Across the spiral arm, worlds that had never known fear suddenly felt it. The Galactic Council, a body of ancient species that had governed interstellar peace for centuries, convened an emergency session. Their chambers, usually filled with calm debate and slow deliberation, now pulsed with urgency. Representatives spoke over one another, projecting fear in tones both sharp and subtle. No one had seen an armada of this scale before. Not even the oldest races, whose memories stretched back to the dawn of star travel, could recall such a force gathering in one place. The invaders did not send messages. They did not negotiate. They simply advanced. Their first target was a minor colony at the outer edge of human territory. The world had little strategic value, a scattering of cities and orbital platforms, but it was undefended. The alien fleet surrounded it in silence, their ships forming a dark halo around the planet. Then, without warning, beams of pale energy lanced downward. Cities vanished. Oceans boiled. Within minutes, the colony was reduced to ashdod. The destruction was witnessed by long-range probes and transmitted across the network. Panic spread faster than any ship could travel. Systems sealed their borders. Trade routes collapsed. The Council issued directives that few followed. As each species turned inward to protect its own worlds, humans, however, did something different. Deep within a classified shipyard orbiting a dead star, a vessel stirred to life. It had been under construction for years, a project so secret that even most of humanity's own government did not know its full purpose. The ship was massive, dwarfing anything that had come before it. Its hull was layered with experimental alloys, its core powered by a reactor that bent the limits of known physics. It was called the Vanguard, Commander. Elias stood on the bridge as the final systems came online. He was not the oldest officer in the fleet, nor the most decorated, but he had been chosen for one reason above all else. He understood what this ship represented. It was not just a weapon. It was a statement. The crew moved with focused intensity, running checks, calibrating weapons, verifying shields. There was no room for hesitation. The reports from the frontier made it clear that conventional fleets would not be enough. Entire squadrons had already been lost trying to slow the advance. The Vanguard was humanity's answer. When the ship departed the shipyard, it did so without ceremony. There were no speeches, no broadcasts. It slipped into the void and accelerated toward the front lines, its engines leaving behind a trail of distorted space. Meanwhile, the alien fleet continued its advance. System after system fell, each one erased with the same cold efficiency. There was no variation in their tactics, no sign of emotion or hesitation. They moved like a force of nature, unstoppable and indifferent. The Galactic Council watched in growing despair. Their combined fleets, once thought invincible, were being dismantled piece by piece. Even when multiple species united their forces, the result was the same. The alien ships adapted quickly, shifting formations, altering their weapons, countering every strategy that was thrown at them. It became clear that the Council had underestimated the threat. In a final attempt to halt the advance, a coalition fleet gathered at a strategic choke point, a narrow corridor of space between two dense star clusters. If the aliens passed through, they would have direct access to the core worlds. The fleet assembled there was the largest in recorded history, a mix of vessels from dozens of species, each bringing their most powerful weapons to bear. When the alien armada arrived, the battle that followed shook the fabric of space itself. Energy beams lit up the darkness, explosions rippled across the void, and ships were torn apart in seconds. For a brief moment, it seemed as though the coalition might hold. Then the alien fleet changed. Their ships shifted formation with perfect coordination, focusing their fire on key targets. Command vessels were destroyed. Defensive lines collapsed. Within hours, the coalition fleet was in full retreat. Leaving behind a graveyard of wreckage, the path to the core worlds was open. It was at this moment, when hope was at its lowest, that the Vanguard arrived. The massive warship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the battlefield, its presence immediately drawing attention. Compared to the alien vessels, it was a giant among giants. Its silhouette sharp and deliberate against the backdrop of stars, Commander Elias did not hesitate. He ordered the ship forward, directly into the path of the advancing armada. On the bridge, crew felt the weight of what they were about to do. They were outnumbered by a margin that defied logic. No single ship, no matter how powerful, should have been able to stand against such a force. But the Vanguard was not a normal ship as the alien fleet moved to engage. The Vanguard activated its primary systems. Shields flared to life, forming a barrier that shimmered with layered energy fields. Weapons arrays unfolded along its hull, revealing batteries that had never been tested in real combat. The first exchange was immediate and violent. Alien beams struck the Vanguard, their energy colliding with the shields in bursts of light. For a moment, the ship seemed to vanish within the storm of incoming fire. Then it emerged, intact. The crew responded. The Vanguard's main cannon fired, releasing a concentrated blast that tore through multiple alien ships in a single line. Secondary weapons followed, each shot precise and devastating. The battlefield shifted. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien fleet encountered resistance that it could not easily overcome. Their formations faltered as the Vanguard pushed forward. Carving a path through their ranks, Commander Elias watched the tactical display, his expression steady. He knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would adapt. They always did. And adapt they did. The alien ships began to change their approach, spreading out, attacking from multiple angles. New types of weapons appeared, targeting the Vanguard's shields in ways that had not been seen before. The pressure increased, the incoming fire growing more intense with each passing moment. The ship's systems strained under the assault. Warnings flashed across the bridge. Sections of the hull took damage. Still, the Vanguard advanced. It was not just a battle of firepower. It was a battle of will. The crew fought to keep their systems online, rerouting power, repairing damage, maintaining their offensive. Each action was deliberate, each decision critical. As the fight continued, something unexpected happened. The alien fleet hesitated. It was subtle at first. A slight delay in their movements, a momentary pause in their coordination. Then it became more pronounced. Their formations grew less precise. Their attacks lost some of their focus. The Vanguard pressed the advantage. With a final surge of power, the ship unleashed its most powerful weapon, a focused energy pulse that expanded outward, disrupting the alien vessels within its range. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were now breaking apart. Their systems failing under the strain, the Armada began to retreat. It was not a full withdrawal. Not yet, but it was enough. The advance had been stopped. The path to the core worlds was no longer open. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The alien fleet had been halted by a single human warship in the chambers of the Galactic Council. The reaction was immediate and intense. Panic gave way to confusion, then to a cautious sense of hope. The species that had once viewed humanity as a relatively new and untested member of the interstellar community now saw them in a different light. They saw a force capable of standing against the unknown. Commander Elias did not celebrate. He knew the battle was far from over. The alien fleet had not been destroyed. It had only been pushed back. They would return, and when they did, they would be stronger, more prepared. The Vanguard, too, had taken damage. Repairs would be needed. Systems would have to be recalibrated. The next encounter would be even more difficult. But something had changed. For the first time since the invasion began, the galaxy had proof that the aliens could be resisted, that they were not unstoppable, as the Vanguard held its position at the edge of the battlefield. Its engines glowing faintly against the darkness, a new message was transmitted across the network. It was not a call for retreat or a warning of destruction. It was a declaration humanity would not stand aside while the galaxy burned, and as the alien fleet regrouped in the distance, preparing for its next move, the vanguard remained in their path. A silent promise that the fight was not over.